So you think someone can live 120, 150 years is pretty healthy, potentially?
I'm going to give it a shot. If I were to open you up and look at your aging wheel, everybody has an aging wheel. You know, somebody's might be 150 running towards the grave. If you could put the brakes on that aging wheel, you would. And you'd want that aging wheel to stop. Very difficult to do. But I think I can get mine down about 5 miles an hour from where it was, which was probably 100.
I bet you there's 20% of the audience that's heard some variation of red light somewhere. So why red light next, and what does red light therapy do?
Wow. So it's also known as PBM, photobiomodulation. If you want to look up science of this, you search PBM in the journals. So, and it's a deep subject. I'm going to do my best to keep it simple. So light, or photons, right, when they get absorbed, like the sun, when a plant absorbs sun, that creates photosynthesis. That's how we can take energy and convert it in usable form, and the plant can grow. Without the sun, say goodbye to the plant, unless you're a mushroom. So, bottom line is, certain wavelengths of light. What is a wavelength? First of all, red, which is the visible. Ours is 635 nanometer. That just means on the wavelength spectrum of light, 635 is red, and it's visible. Red hits the skin and doesn't go much deeper than, you've got epidermis, dermis, hypodermis, okay? 3 layers. We can get through all that with red light, and that's great. We'll help tighten skin. We'll make it look really supple. We can actually resolve quite a few concerns with the top of skin with red light. In our bed, we go way deeper. We go into near infrared, invisible light, right? This is 810 nanometer, 850, 940. These are the things you can't see. You'll notice in your bed, I think you even called me up and went, hey man, 75% of these bulbs are out.
Right.
No, that's the real important light. The invisible stuff's going into your muscles and your organs and bone, tissue, way beyond the skin. And so what happens with light when it gets absorbed by a cell, in particular a cell that has a mitochondria, because a red blood cell does not have this. Mitochondrial functioning cells in tissue, organs, skin, etc., they make ATP, energy, adenosine triphosphate. And when light gets absorbed by the cell, there's a phenomenon that occurs, and it kicks the free radicals out.
Here we go.
They're sitting on something called cytochrome C oxidase. It's a very sticky chromophore. It's an enzyme at the end of what's called electron transport chain, where the factory, powerhouse factory, makes things, especially energy. And this sticky chromophore has an affinity to connect to free radicals, mitochondrial nitric oxide. Now, this is a bad thing, but sometimes it can be overwhelming, and then it blocks oxygen into the cell. That's a bad thing. So if we can't get oxygen into a cell can actually go rogue and become cancerous. It's got to use other methods to make energy. You don't want that. You want it to use oxygen to make 2 cycles of ATP, or 32. So you're either a 2 horsepower car or you're a 32 horsepower car when you do light. So think of this. Let's say we go out to dinner tonight, all the lights are off, and the thieves come in. Mitochondrial nitric oxide.
They're the thieves.
They come in, but your floodlights go on. And they go, blinded by the light, they run for the hills. And they're running blind, and they run into the fence. In our body, that fence is the artery. Nitric oxide and an artery are friends. Helps relax that artery, vasodilates, improves blood flow. But now the bad guys are kicked out, so oxygen can come back into the house again and make ATP, happily ever after.
Why is this ATP so critical?
You can't regenerate, you can't restore, you have no, so you can't flex a muscle if you can't make ATP. If you're short on calcium and magnesium, calcium flexes, magnesium relaxes, you can't do anything without ATP, and most people are cycling at 2. They need to be cycling at 32. So we have to incorporate the oxygen transport at the highest possible level. So here's why we do light last. So PEMF charges that cell, separates it, all cells.
Magnetism.
Exactly. Magnetism first. Puts the baseline back to normal. Your blood flow looks like that of a 10-year-old child again. Then we supersaturate with oxygen. We exercise with oxygen. Okay. And tissue and plasma have a ton of O2. Now when light hits the cell, and it tells the free radical to get out and go to hell, right? Oxygen can come back in and save the day. So we're setting up each technology to potentiate the next.
Got it.
So PMF puts oxygen on steroids. PMF and oxygen puts light on steroids. So if I were to take all the oxygen out of you and dealkalize you, put you south of 7 pH, now you're acidic, light's not as effective. Light's gonna have a very difficult time. Yes, that chromophore will absorb light. Yes, we'll have a reaction. Yes, we'll kick mitochondrial nitric oxide out. We're not gonna optimize it.
Yeah.
So this Earth, Wind, and Fire I developed, I don't want the music
not a trademark,
group,
it's just
I don't
a
want the
thought.
group to come after me, but one of my favorite bands. But I came up with that name to help people remember the order.
Yep.
And we've got clinics all over the world where you can go do Superhuman protocol.
That's what I want to say to everybody. So you may not be able to afford all these beds. You can find it. Chiropractors have been, to some extent, using some of this magnetism and some of this red light stuff for a little while now. You'll be able to find Jason's machines in different places local to you. But I want to stay on a little bit of the red light a little bit, because I want to just make sure, I want people going, all right, I like this. I'm also going to review the concepts. You want to increase this ATP, guys, because it's basically the energy that you're living off of, right? It's an energy factor. Nitric oxide in your body. First off, what happens with the red light? I understood it, but I want to understand it a little bit better. And what is its function?
Yeah.
Specifically, because I always hear this, but what is its function in our body?
Red light?
Yeah, no, nitric oxide.
Nitric oxide. Well, it's ultimately a vasodilator.
Okay.
It's what helps sexual performance for men.
Correct.
It's what helps improve blood flow and perfusion. If we don't have an adequate amount of this, we do not have the arteries relaxing. We don't have good blood flow. So when you're low on this, you have impeded blood. Now you can't make more nitric oxide with light. I hear companies saying that, we're gonna boost. You're disassociating the existing mitochondrial nitric oxide from those mitochondrial functioning cells, and they're getting pushed out.
Okay.
And so there's more of it to utilize.
Got it.
That's it. We're putting it back where it belongs.
Got it. That's this escape situation.
Chemical.
Okay. So guys, the combination of these three things mean what? So I know red light therapy. By the way, guys, when we say red light, this isn't hot light or anything like that. The fact that the bed that Jason uses, I don't wear goggles or anything like that. There's no damage to my eyes that I'm aware of. But, skin, hair, pain, recovery. Are there any other benefits in addition to those that you would say that come with this?
Hundreds.
Okay.
So think about this. When you open up an apple, it turns brown, right?
Yes.
That's oxidation at its purest form. We call that reactive oxygen species.
Okay.
Or a piece of metal out in the salt water, it's going to rust. Another example of oxidation. So when we open an apple and it starts to brown, we can slow that browning by putting what? Lemon juice on it, right? Think of light as lemon juice for the cells. It's going to slow down the oxidative stress, which is, again, an overwhelming amount of those mitochondrial nitric oxide, right? And it's going to stop inflammation. Inflammation is the root of all disease. It's the root of all pain. It's the root of everything. So if we can stop inflammation in its tracks, I say this to people all the time. If I were to open you up and look at your aging wheel, everybody has an aging wheel. Somebody's might be 150 running towards the grave. If you could put the brakes on that aging wheel, you would. And you'd want that aging wheel to stop. Very difficult to do. But I think I can get mine down about 5 miles an hour from where it was, which was probably 100. Because I work 100 hours a week.
I know.
Right? And it's a very stressful lifestyle because I want to serve everybody all the time, and I want to make sure everybody's getting what they need.
You do, yeah.
And you drive that all day, and you worry. And I hate to say this too, and worry is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but you don't go anywhere, but you still do it, right? And that worry causes stress, inflammation, pain, and it leads to pathology. It leads to symptoms. And it's really just a matter of calm down that inflammation. So red light, you could do C-reactive protein. You could do some blood labs right after red light, and you can measure CRP dropping. You can look at red blood cells, dark field microscopy, and you can see the cells changing right before your eyes, especially after PMF. If someone goes, I don't believe in this PMF stuff, okay, do dark field right before PMF and do dark field after, and tell me that doesn't look like somebody else's blood.
Okay.
I will bet them a free system if they don't see those results. But light, near infrared and red that we get from the sun, we're predominantly blocked from it because it's not enough. There's not enough and it's not strong enough. In order for us to get the equivalent of what we get out of your light bed, you'd have to be butt naked in front of the sun for 2 hours during the summer, front and back. And now you're exposed to UVA, UVB, and now we have skin damage.
By the way, speaking of skin damage, one of the benefits I've seen from the red light, I don't seem to burn.
No, you're thickening the skin.
Is that right?
So you're improving your ability to protect the skin from the damaging waves.
And again, everybody, I'm making claims. I've been on this very short term. Why did I do today's show? Let me explain to everyone. I'll step back for a second. I did today's show because I've been blessed and fortunate enough that I can afford access to some of the best medical information in the world. I've had that with my heart with Dr. Amy Doneen. I brought David Sinclair on the show. I've had Andrew Huberman on about your mind and your brain, and he's a neuroscientist. I've had all kinds of different people on, intermittent fasting, all the experts in the world in these things. And I'm fascinated with slowing down that aging clock. I'm fascinated with being more fit at 50 than I was at 30. I'm also had some health issues. As you know, genetically, I wasn't born with the perfect hand dealt to me. And so anti-aging, living longer, living better is all fascinating to me. And I want to share what I'm learning or what I'm getting exposed to with the millions of people that listen or watch this show because I love them. And I want that for them as well. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to share you today. I want everyone to know my intent in doing this.
Thank you.
I don't make any specific claims one way or the other about it, but what I can tell you is I always want to bring you what I believe is the cutting edge information. I believe I'm sitting next to the cutting edge dude in the world on these topics, and that's why he's here today. You are going to do your own research on PEMF, on magnetism, on earthing. Those are all things you can research. You can research the separation of red blood cells. You can research oxygen and the benefits of that oxygen under load. You can research the benefits of red light therapy. All of the different things that we've covered today. And obviously things like ATP. These are topics you should inform yourself on. This isn't 30 years ago where it's just about protein, creatine, and drink some water, right? Things have evolved, yet most people are still discussing these basic things. So you'll make your own decisions, find this information your own way, but I want you all to live longer, happier, and better, and I'm hoping that today does that. Now, here's the tough question. I was thinking about this morning. If all this works, and we're basically going back in time, I wonder if anyone's ever asked you this before. If all this works, more of the magnetism, more oxygen, more light that we're not getting, why do we live longer now than we did then?
Why do we live? I think the numbers are skewed, actually. Well, because we don't have T-Rex.
Okay, T-Rex. But I mean, that's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, they didn't live as long then when they were getting more.
So I think we lived healthier lives back then because we didn't have the Dust Bowl. We didn't have the depletion of the soil. And today's salad is massively deficient in the nutrients, enzymes, and minerals that we had back in the day. So when people say things like, well, my grandmother and grandfather never had these problems, because they had actual nutrients in their food. Okay. We're just now starting to realize that, and we're on that boat now. We're going, okay, nutrition is really important, and we're looking at organic foods, and we're starting to figure out ways to lengthen telomeres. We're starting to look at ways or biomarkers that tell us how we're aging, but ultimately, if we look at the mortality rate, most of that data is coming from, I hate to say this, but inaccurate databases. And we are living longer, but that's because we're being driven by a medical community
that's what I thought you were
that can stave off some life-threatening diseases. But that quality of that lifespan, that additional lifespan, is terrible. I said to somebody the other day, you were born superhuman, and you were conditioned and guided into mediocrity. Okay, I have a theory. Babies when we're born, there's a reason we scream our lungs off when we come out. We have a feeling we're going to be force-fed the standard American diet, and our health is going to be based on drugs.
I already know the minute
we're way better off back inside.
We've been listening and watching it for 9 months in our mother's womb. I feel like the answer to that to some extent is the combination of the two, that we live longer now because the advances in technology and medical science and some medications, surgical techniques, those different things. But if you could combine these things with the access and the knowledge that we have now, it's just a more evolved society with better technology.
I don't think we're living longer with better quality. I do not. I absolutely don't. I think we were extending life right now, but if we look at the last 10, 15 years of that quality of life, it's in an old age home, needlessly.
Or very unhealthy, very stagnant. I agree with you.
And I think we can go way beyond 100. with amazing quality, be able to ride a bike, still be able to work out. I mean, look at the 5 blue zones that exist around the world, from Greece to California. You have people that are walking around barefoot, they're eating from the land, and they don't have Parkinson's, fibromyalgia, ischemia, heart disease. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist.
How long do you think we can live? Someone with a decent...
I mean, you go back to some of the ancient scripture, and they're showing beings living hundreds and hundreds of years, even longer.
So you think someone can live 120, 150 years is pretty healthy, potentially?
I'm going to give it a shot.
I know you are. It's one of your obsessions. I can just say this for me. I mean, I'm 50 years old, and I am stronger, more flexible, and feel healthier than I did when I was 30. And so I almost feel like I haven't hit that point in my life because of my pursuit of these things that has got me to be on the backside of that number yet. That's at least how I feel. I hope that that's true. There's things I need to fix. My audience knows that my heart rate's too high. I've had some heart issues. It's one of the other reasons that I'm working on these things, but it's people like you that give me confidence that that's really true. And I want to encourage the audience to do your research on these topics, because I feel like today's one of the more valuable shows we've ever done that could extend or even save some of your lives and the quality of your life, depending on your age. You athletes, you want to recover, you want to train faster, there's the basic techniques, the basic things that this will deliver to you. You'll feel almost instantaneously, and I did. You wanted to jump in and say something.
Yeah, I want to mention something, and I didn't want to go public with this, but I was born with a congenital defect. We call it a mitral valve prolapse. So it's where the valve's a little floppy. Okay, and it can get worse as you age. And a couple of years ago, I began to see symptoms from it. You feel lightheaded, like you have low blood sugar. And we've known about this. I've known. And then they said, don't worry about it until you need to worry about it. And so a couple of years ago, they said, it's getting worse. And the doctor, the cardiologist, looked at me and he said, is there any way you can get a little more oxygen?
No way.
And I went, absolutely, I can. I said, I do a protocol where I can supersaturate the blood plasma and I fire up the red blood cells, and I can do red light therapy and stop all the inflammation. He was like, what, how? What is all this about? Amazing how he's never heard of this, because they're so focused on disease and cutting and repairing and or prescribing a drug. And look up pharmacology, it's the study of poison. Every drug is poisonous in the right dose, and we're given just a small enough dose to stop a symptom, so you think everything's good, but you have to stay on that, and that could cause a cascade of ongoing problems. So 2019, they said you won't make it past the end of 2019. You need that surgery within the next 90 days. And I just said, no, I'm gonna start doing Superhuman really hard. And I went back and did my last echo, and they just said, we don't know what you're doing, but your ejection fraction's looking pretty good. When you want to get the surgery, because you can't fix an architectural problem per se. When the valve's got an issue, you can take all the supplements all day long, but if you can reduce the inflammatory condition and you can improve the oxygen absorption and uptake to the 11 organ systems, you can stave off a lot of the symptoms that would cause, or that is a result of, mitral valve prolapse. So I'm not telling somebody, go do this, avoid the surgery. But I have delayed the surgery. It's open heart, it's bypass, lung bypass, heart bypass. It's open heart.
We're sawing stuff open.
And ironically, I'll be doing the Vinci procedure, which is by another company, and the Dr. Alfredo Trento, the best in the world. He's done more of these surgeries than anybody. So my heart is in good hands, and hopefully he'll be doing it this year or early next year.
Thank you for sharing that.
Superhuman. I'm still here.
Thank you, brother, for sharing that.
You bet.
Today's been remarkable. I had a bunch more things I wanted to get to. Are there any disclaimers or qualifiers you would add for anybody under certain treatments or conditions that should avoid any of the things we talked about? Pregnancy.
Light epilepsy, because we can adjust the frequency, and that's another thing we need to talk about. We can adjust frequency. You can go into a sleep frequency in the light bed. I can set you at 10 hertz.
Okay, you need to show me how to do that.
And fire that thing up, and I'll knock you out while you're in the bed. Okay. So frequency is important when modulating the body, and you get to play with that. Most light systems don't allow you to play with frequencies. It's just a solid on-off switch.
Okay.
What was the question?
Any qualifiers? Pregnancy?
Pacemakers.
Pacemakers, pregnancy.
And we are using such a low Gauss, such a low magnetism, it's probably not a problem, but you always want to check with your doc. Pregnancy, epilepsy on the light. Other than that, no other contraindications. You should always talk to your doctor and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is not designed to prevent cure or treat anything. We can't go there. We cannot make any medical claims. But what you're doing are the basic fundamentals. You have a universal right to this. Oxygen, magnetism, light. It created life.
Yeah.
It sustained it. And we unknowingly disconnected from that which has also declined.
Right.
We didn't know Earth's magnetism's being declined. It's been declining for the last 4,000 years. We didn't know we're supposed to get certain wavelengths of light. We didn't realize the oxygen was laden with hydrocarbon from industry. Okay, and that's a whole other subject, talking about clean air and ozone. I mean, we can go for days on that. So pay attention to your body. Your body's telling you something's not right. Not saying you don't go see your doctor, but sometimes it's just a matter of walking around barefoot, breathing deep, and exposing the body to that which created us.
Yep, and that's the base level all the way up to what we've talked about today. I hope what today did was give you guys a whole different or a whole new perspective and some things to think about, read about, watch this show again on in terms of your anti-aging, your wellness, your healing, your recovery, your overall state of being. And I feel like you delivered on that today, Jason. Thank you. They go to DaVinciMedicalUSA.com if they want to get involved with any of the things that you're doing. You can Google all the different PEMFs and all the different terms that we went through today, your ATP, all of that stuff. You can look through all of that stuff and learn about it today. And from me to you, I hope today served you. I hope it was something that you feel compelled to share with people, and I hope it's got you thinking and talking. I hope it's got you questioning. I hope it's got you discussing it with people that you trust and getting their opinion as well. So Jason Tebeau, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Ed.
Great to have you,
brother.
brother.
Stay superhuman.
You crushed this. I am working on that staying superhuman. And for the rest of you, I want to ask you to share this with as many people as you can. And God bless you all, and Max out.